The main reason I'm out here doing this today is because it's a great excuse to shoot two guns that I absolutely love. Man, I love comparison videos, don't you? Of course you do. You're watching this one, aren't you? Well, it doesn't get much better than what I've got to compare today, and that is the Wilson Combat Beretta 92G Centurion versus the SIG Sauer P226 Extreme. Now I'll talk in a little bit of detail about what makes it extreme, why they call it that, or what's special about this particular model. I've done videos on both of these in the past. I've done more than one on this SIG because I've had it a long time, and I've done one or two on this Centurion. But I'll talk a little bit about what features each one has and most of the things they have in common, some of the things that distinguish one from the other, and so forth. The main reason I'm out here doing this today is because it's a great excuse to shoot two guns that I absolutely love. I have loved the P226 Extreme for years, and I've loved this Wilson Combat 92 Centurion ever since I got it. So this is just going to be a great, fun, head-to-head comparison between two of the best handguns that I own. Here are the way these guns match up in terms of numbers and specs. Again, we can see how similar they are with just fractions of an inch usually separating them in the various measurements. Both guns use very similar design elements in terms of the type of grips and putting special sights and using very good finish and so on. And maybe most importantly, they both pride themselves on their trigger. And rightfully so, because these are two of the finest triggers in the industry. A lot of people don't like double-action, single-action guns because they hate that first long, tough, heavy double-action pull. I've even heard some people refer to it as the throwaway shot, which don't get me started on that. But either of these guns should be easily mastered in terms of that first double action shot because it is very, very smooth in both cases and under 10 pounds also in both cases. The single action pulls are also extremely close. Another number that surprised me, even though I knew it would be close, I knew it would be right in the same ballpark, but that was a measurement I took myself, and that is the trigger reach. Trigger reach is the distance from the very front face of the trigger at the innermost part of the curve, or the apex, to the corresponding apex in the back of the grip tang. So on both guns, that number was exactly the same, 2.855 inches. And they're both 1.5 inch thick guns, so they feel almost exactly the same when you pick them up, as they should. Well, the weather is a bit of a challenge today, so I'm just going to start out shooting some steel. I'm not going to try to put up paper yet. We've got a lot of wind. You can probably hear it in the microphones howling all around me. For some reason that I am not complaining about, this range, my little range right here, is sort of an oasis, and I'm not being blown around too much. So I hope that continues, and if it does, I will put up a paper target and punch some groups in it. Meanwhile, I'm going to start out with the SIG Sauer P226 Extreme. I can't remember the last time I shot it. It's been a little while. I'm going to start out double action. This is a double action, single action. Has a hammer drop decocker. The standard magazines are 15 rounds for the P226, but I've got a Mechgar 18 round mag in there. But I still only have 15 rounds in it. Go figure. All right, let's get started. Oh, man, this thing is so nice. So nice. The trigger, the feel of the grip, everything. Incredible. And now the Beretta 92G from Wilson Combat. Centurion version. Means it's a little bit shorter. But it also has a decocker. And it's a double action, single action. Kind of makes for a good comparison, doesn't it? Oh, that trigger. Boy. I don't know if you're going to be able to get me to pick a favorite today or not. That will be difficult. I've always felt, this is before, this P226 Extreme predates the Legion series. So it existed before they came out with that. And I always thought that this was about as good as you could get in a factory-built P226. Again, pre-Legion. It had everything. It's got the short reset trigger that is phenomenal. It's got these amazing G10 grips that I absolutely love. It's got the night sights that give you a good sight picture with that traditional SIG Sauer configuration. Just everything about it. The finish, the grip, it's got the nice checkering. Everything about it was fantastic. And oh, by the way, did I mention? It's a shooter. But then so is this 92G Centurion. It is also an incredible shooter. They're both beautiful guns, very striking. Even if you don't like, and I always used to look down on my nose at the Beretta 92, and I still do a little bit, but this is a whole different conversation, this gun right here. And these sights, I will say the sights are superior here on the Wilson Combat. They've got that Hackathorn sight. This also has a very, very nicely tuned trigger, extremely short reset, so light and crisp. The double action is like butter. Don't make me choose. The P226 Extreme is no longer available, at least not according to SIG Sauer's website. It's no longer an active SKU. However, they have other models that are similar to it, and then of course there is the Legion. The Legion has everything that the Extreme has, plus a few extra things. But back when this gun was available, it was in the $1,200 range MSRP. The Wilson Combat Beretta 92G Centurion Tactical sits right at $1,250 MSRP. let's punch some groups in that paper I got down there. It's the wind is staying away for right now, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I've got 2 orange dots on that target, and you can actually, I don't know if you can tell on the video, but they're 2 slightly different colors, which is probably going to bug me, but 2 different runs of the product. Anyway, on the left, starting with the SIG Sauer P226, and then we'll go to the right and we'll shoot the Wilson Combat. In both guns right now, I'm shooting Mekgar magazines. Mekgar makes 18-round magazines for both of these pistols, and I have them for each. Okay, starting out with the SIG. All right, that was 15 rounds. The ammo is MagTech, by the way, so it's just your standard, got it on sale at Midway USA or wherever, ammo. And now, sliding over to the right, with the Wilson Combat Beretta 92G Centurion, also an 18-round Mekgar magazine. Mekgar provided these magazines to the channel some time back. I appreciate that. Whoops, that last one got away from me a little bit. That's that light trigger. Okay, I'm sure I have probably tested the trigger pull on both of these guns in the past, but I'm going to do it again because parts wear in and they smooth out with a little internal polishing and things like that, and who knows, even on a different day the gauge might show something slightly different. So let's check both guns. I'm going to start with the SIG. Double action. 9 pounds, 9.5 ounces. Single action for the SIG. £4, 3.5 ounces. Double action for the Wilson Combat Beretta. 8 pounds, 3 ounces. Single action. £4, 1.8 ounces. So lighter in both respects is the Beretta Wilson Combat. I was definitely feeling at the range that the double action on this Wilson Combat Beretta felt lighter, but it certainly felt smoother, more buttery smooth. Not by any means that it's bad on the SIG. Comparing the triggers on these two guns is like saying that, the Porsche feels like it has maybe slightly more dialed in steering than the BMW M3. I mean, you're really talking on that level. You're talking about comparing two of the very best in the business and really sweating the details. But hey, that's what we're here for. One fairly key difference that jumps off the page between these two guns is the capacity. SIG Sauer P226 is a 15-round gun, standard. The Wilson Combat Beretta 92G is a 17-round gun, standard. So that 2 extra rounds is fairly significant. Now with the range, for a lot of my shooting, I used Mekgar magazines. Here are the 2 Mekgar magazines right here. This one is for the SIG and this one is for the Beretta. And laying right next to each other, you can see they are virtually identical in size. They are both 18-round magazines. But one advantage for the Centurion Tactical from Wilson Combat is it does come with a 20-round magazine. So this 20-round extended magazine is the 3rd magazine that you get. So you get 2 17-rounders and this 20-rounder when you buy the Centurion Tactical. So certainly a bit of an edge there. P226, of course, is a very mature platform, and there's no shortage of accessories, both from SIG Sauer and the aftermarket, and you can get lots of extended magazines for it as well. That was kind of fun. Let's do that some more. I'm sticking with the Mekgar magazines, and I've got 10 rounds each of Tula, steel cased. Let's see if either one of these guns has any complaints with steel cased ammo. No complaints. Man, this every time I shoot this P226 Extreme, it just reminds me how wonderful it is. This gun is just so easy to keep on target. The sight picture is good. It's that traditional SIG sight picture. But more than anything, it's just those sights, the muzzle rise is minimal and the sight, that front sight just drops right back down where you had it every single time. It's just such a joy to shoot groups with this gun. And once again, sliding over to the right. You like that? The Justin Opinion Shuffle. Might be a whole new channel. Justin Opinion Dance channel. Man, I gotta start getting more sleep. Wilson Combat Beretta, also with 10 rounds of Tula ammo. Man, this thing is also a sweetheart to shoot, but I will tell you, I was paying attention for the 10 rounds. The The muzzle lift is a little bit more, actually it's not so much a muzzle lift, the whole gun seems to rise a little bit more, and I sort of have to guide it back into its sight picture, whereas the P226 just literally just falls right back into its sight picture. This one, I got to guide it back and help it find that sight picture again. It's not by much, and it's not a huge deal, obviously, but there is that subtle distinction between the two guns. Pretty nice. Like I said, it's just a matter of if you took that group and slid it down, they would be very, very similar looking. They are almost exactly the same size. One note though, that 10 rounds of the steel case Tula seem to be well digested by both of these guns. I think the Wilson Combat put most of them all right here. It liked the steel case better than it liked that MagTech. One of my favorite features on both of these guns are the grips. They both employ a G10 grip. The SIGs are made by Hogue. I'm not sure about the Wilson Combat. They may be as well. Wilson Combat uses what they call the ultra-thin G10 grips on this pistol, and there is a significant difference between these and the regular Beretta 92G. You don't have that round feeling at all. It really makes it a slab-sided pistol, and it's really what puts it in the same feel category as the 226. But in both cases, the grips are not only aesthetically gorgeous, but they're also very, very functional. They provide excellent traction. They hold your hand right in place. They're very comfortable, and because they're G10, they're going to last forever, and they're going to stand up to all kinds of wear. I like the sights better on this Wilson Combat Beretta. I like the mag release much better on the Wilson Combat Beretta. I like the decocker better on the SIG, and I definitely like the trigger better on the SIG, even though the Beretta Wilson Combat has a smoother and lighter trigger. I like the short reset trigger on the P226, maybe just because of experience, and that's very likely a big part of it. I'm just used to it. I'm kind of dialed into that trigger, and so I can ride that reset really well. I don't ride the reset nearly as well on the Beretta, and you can see that in my shooting at the range when I try to do rapid fire. I'll sort of mistime it or not quite catch the reset or whatever, because there is a little bit of additional take-up. All right, let me just show you the difference in these two triggers. We'll start with the SIG P226, and of course you have your double action trigger. Now you'll see that there's just a tiny bit of take-up, and it's just what I would consider mechanical take-up. You're just sort of moving the parts into place. So that tiny little bit of take-up, and then you're firm against the spring. Nice smooth pull, no stacking, and you don't feel any of the internal mechanics working. Here's that short reset trigger. That's it. That's as far as it goes, and you are right there at the wall. There is zero take-up. Okay, let's look at that again. So double action, smooth, under 10 pounds. The single action follow-up shots, the reset. That's it, and you are right there at the wall. It is firm. No take-up at all. Now the Beretta, love that mag release. Okay, so for our double action, there is virtually no initial take-up at all. Right? So it's a little better than the SIG in that respect. Got a nice tight trigger, very little movement when you first put your finger on it. Super smooth double action pull. And then the reset It's short, but a little longer. You can definitely see that it's longer than the SIG, and it's slightly less tactile. But then watch. You get that much more take up again before you're at the wall. I'll show you that again. Reset out to here. Not real audible, not a whole lot of tactile feedback, and then some take up until you get back to the wall. So even though the numbers on the Wilson Combat Beretta trigger are more impressive, if you just look at them on paper, you say, wow, it's got a lighter trigger, it's only 8 pounds 3 ounces for double action, and 4 pounds 1.8 ounces for single action, versus 9 pounds 9.5 ounces for double action on the SIG, and 4 pounds 3.5 ounces for the single action. However, it's about the feel for me and the crispness of the trigger. So I prefer the trigger on the SIG. All right, I warned you I wasn't going to be able to tell you which one was better than the other, or even which one I might like better than the other. I suppose if it really came down to it, the house is burning down and I got time to grab one of these and and my dog under the other arm, I'm probably going to go with the 226. Probably going to take the SIG P226 Legion, not because I think it's all that much better, but I don't know, I've got more history with this gun. It's got a little bit more sentimental value to me. It was something that I shopped for a long time, knew what I wanted. It was hard to find, I put a lot of effort into buying it, and I have shot it a bunch over the years. It has never, ever failed me, and so that's probably why. The Beretta Wilson Combat 92G Centurion is also an incredibly wonderful pistol. I just don't have that history with it yet, so and it didn't work as hard to get it. So I don't know. That's part of it, though, right? The harder you work to get something, the more you value it. So maybe that enters into it. Although I will tell you that the Beretta does some things better, I think, than the SIG. The Beretta magazine release is much nicer. I don't have to alter my grip hardly at all, if at all, to drop the magazines. The mag release button is nice and big. It's got a great knurled texture on it, and it works effortlessly, unlike my speaking apparently, to drop the magazine. The P226 magazine button is good. It's very good. It's large and also well checkered in this case, more so than knurled, but it's a little more recessed into the frame and in the grip, so you have to reach in a little bit more. Not that I've ever had a problem with it, but I'm just, pointing out the subtle differences. I think both guns are empty. You can see there's no magazine in them, and I am, by the way, pointed safely downrange at the berm. Both guns are double action for the first pull. I believe the Beretta is a smoother and probably lighter. Put a gauge on it and that'll tell us. But it feels lighter. And it feels maybe just a little bit smoother. So, double action, I prefer this Wilson Combat trigger in this Beretta 92. However, for the single action, the resets and the follow-ups, I prefer the P226 Extreme. Maybe it's just because I'm used to it and I've gotten fairly proficient with it over the years, but I can do a mag dump and have almost every piece of brass in the air with this guy, but working this short reset trigger. I can't quite get that knack going with this one yet, and again, that's probably more the fault of my experience with the gun than of the gun, because it does also have a beautiful, beautiful, light and crisp single action trigger. It's just that the reset is not quite what it is with this SIG SRT. Hey, thanks for watching. As always, please be safe. Follow the 4 rules of gun safety anytime you are handling firearms, no matter where you're handling them. And as always, a big thank you to my patrons on Patreon who support this channel and make this video and all the other ones possible. This channel is completely viewer funded, so if you are interested in supporting it to keep the content flowing, that support would be greatly appreciated and most welcomed. Please go to Patreon and sign up.